In a limitless world, why set your sights on the obtainable, the prize within an arm's reach? Why not think bigger? Our expectations are the foundation for our accomplishments. The target you aim for is more than likely going to be the target you hit. Which means it's quite possible to do exactly what you set out to do and still drastically underachieve, for the sole reason that you are worth more. You are capable of more than you give yourself credit for, but like anything, if you don't recognize and do something about it, the impact will be minimal. It doesn't matter that you're the fastest person in the world if you never sprint. It's impossible to stumble into excellence, because to get there, you need to 1, understand that something greater exists, and 2, understand that you are worthy of it. In anything you do, it's better to aim high, to try and accomplish too much. Be bigger than reality, larger than life, and what you'll find in maintaining these monumental expectations is that you grow along with them. You realize that what was acceptable yesterday is no longer good enough, that it was merely a stepping stone. The things you're capable of, the life that's possible for you, is unfathomable to the human mind. Endless opportunities are not black and white. They're not reassuring because they haven't happened yet. They're not visible or tangible, but that's okay. Just know that no matter where you are or what you want, more exists. If you're willing to go to another level, there is something bigger, period. So take a look at the targets that you've set. Don't waste time asking yourself whether there's something greater. There is. Ask yourself if you're willing to step up, to move outside your comfort zone and get it. I don't think it's any secret that life doesn't always go the way we drew it up. It's great to have a game plan, but it's just as important to be practical with regard to life's ups and downs. Success lies not in the ability to get everything right the first time, but to adjust. We can't afford to be one-dimensional with our pursuits, because the second things go wrong, we panic, we go into emergency mode. Life only begins to make sense when we learn to expect those twists and turns, teach ourselves to adapt, move forward despite their occurrence. This brings to light a very important truth. It is not the road ahead that determines your fate. It's the way you internalize the process. It's having the patience and the confidence to take life as it comes and mold it in a way that gets you to your goals. As long as your wheels don't stop turning, you are never stuck. As long as you are willing to adjust, there will never be an end in sight until you put the stake in the ground and declare victory. Luck is what happens when preparation meets hard work. Seneca. How many times have you heard luck used as the explanation for events that have unfolded? Successful people or fortunate occurrences, they're deemed lucky. Negative, unfortunate situations, well, they're unlucky. But what if luck had very little to do with anything? What if the events in your life were the result of both the way you look at the world and the way you prepare yourself for what comes your way? To lean on the concept of luck is to relinquish control over your life, to reallocate power. It does nothing for you except deceive and manipulate. The truth is, great situations are going to arise as well as challenging times. What will matter in either is how you handle them. When opportunities come your way, do you capitalize? Are you ready? Can you make the most of what's been presented to you? And on the other hand, when the negative arises, can you see it for what it is? A temporary obstacle that you can and will get past. There's nothing unlucky about what's happening around you. Because what's happening around you is life. It's your job to deal with it, to play your hand and live out every day like it's a gift. The ones who are prepared, positive, ambitious, by their very nature, they will achieve. And when they do, they'll be called lucky by passers-by. But don't allow yourself to fall for this. Luck is not given. It is never given. Luck is made. Every single day. A fire doesn't just appear. It isn't born out of thin air or imagined into reality. It begins with a spark, a belief. The notion that something can be accomplished long before it begins to materialize. Belief is looking at the pieces around you and understanding that in one way or another, they'll all come together to create the outcome that you want. It's the backbone of any pursuit, because you're taking the unknown and you are knocking it down a peg. Standing up to the fears, the doubts, the demons in your head. When we fail, it's because we believe that our obstacles are bigger than us. We succumb to that reality. But when one understands that belief, the very same thought process that can be our greatest detriment, is also our greatest asset, we become limitless. If you know you're going to cross a finish line, if you're certain, if you can already see it, everything else becomes trivial. Nothing is debilitating, nothing is game-ending, because you'll get around it. You know who you are. You know where you should be. That is the most challenging part. Once you're certain of that, it's simply a matter of putting one foot in front of the other. Why is moving in the direction that we need to go so often met with apprehension? Why is our fear of the unknown greater than our fear of settling for unhappiness or the status quo? When you look at this through a lens of rationality, it makes very little sense. Human beings like what is known, what is certain, even if it's at the expense of something better. And that mentality is what breeds mediocrity. It creates a life of simply getting by. See, by refusing to take risks, you are essentially risking it all because you are creating regret. And regret is the monster in the closet. Regret is the danger worth fearing. That someday you'll look back and wish that you'd lived life on your own terms, that you'd been a little braver, a tad more adventurous. Truth be told, this world is just not as scary as we make it out to be. But the trick isn't knowing that, the trick is doing something about it, convincing your brain that everything will be okay. Otherwise, we spend our entire lives standing behind the curtain that separates us from the stage. Why? Because the lights might be a tad too bright? I don't know about you, but that sure as hell beats a life in the dark. The risks you take are directly correlated to your happiness, your progress, fulfillment, success. These things can't exist without some element of trust that everything will be okay. That the road you don't know can take you wherever you want it to. We live in a world of self-induced limitation. We define our best. We define good versus great, possible versus impossible, acceptable versus insufficient. And these limitations guide our behavior. We live by them. Our understanding of limits paves the way for our reality. Once we define something as our best, it becomes our summit. Once we label it as crazy or far-fetched, we turn our backs on it. But here's a beautiful truth. There are no limits in everyday life unless you place them there. You don't have a true personal best because you can always be better. There is one way or another a route to achieve anything you deem worthy of achieving. The key is not seeking to define excellence, but to be continuously seeking progress. With that mentality, you'll see that there is always a next level, and it's always within reach. There's a difference between going through the motions and standing out. One requires action, the other calls for meaningful action, and the difference is tremendous. The passion that drives you determines whether you make an impact or clap as someone else does. Passion is an army. It protects you from a world rampant with negativity. It pushes you forward when you're tired, when you're weak. The difference between victory and every other outcome is a desire that lives much deeper than what's shown on the surface. It's what creates curiosity. It's what makes you jump out of bed. It makes the hours and hours of focus and work all worth it. When you love something, boundaries mean very little. There's always more to see. There's more to discover. Settling isn't an option. Quitting isn't entertained because it means you'd be walking away from the good stuff. What's around the corner? Which for some may be an option, but not for the passionate, not for those who need it like oxygen. If greatness is the goal, passion is not a luxury. It is a requirement. It's your ticket past the detours and roadblocks that send most people in the other direction. Being great means standing out, and standing out requires a burning desire to reach the top. It's your spark and your momentum. The wind on your back. If you are passionate about the road ahead, the twists and turns are part of the equation. In fact, you live for those very ups and downs because nothing is going to stop you from the journey and wherever it may lead. Greatness is a decision. Failure is a decision. Winning, losing, mediocrity, these are decisions that we make. None of them can exist in your life without a green light given by you. They require your approval. Now, this isn't to say outside circumstances don't play a part, right? Of course they do. But they're merely pieces. It's up to you to look at what's in front of you, the good and the bad, and put it all together to tell the story that you want to tell. See, failure is a decision because it's a stopping point. Failure doesn't mean that you stumbled or made a mistake or had to pick your pride up off the floor. No, failure means that you stopped. You decided that for one reason or another, moving forward simply isn't worth it. That the tough moments outweigh the great ones, and so you decided to settle. But the reality is, everyone deals with hardship. The differentiator is that some people decide to let it consume them and keep them down, while others decide that the unfortunate events will be nothing more than speed bumps on their way to greatness. It doesn't matter what stands before them because they've already chosen excellence. They've chosen to take the negative and turn it into the necessary ingredients to move forward. And that's one of the greatest decisions that one can make, simply to move on, to find a way. Because if you're willing to persist, there will be no end points, only new opportunities. How much of what holds you back is make-believe? Are the reasons for staying immobile, for not moving toward your potential, are they real? Or are they simply elements of your imagination, fabricated, transformed into everyday life? See, the thing is, where you imagine boundaries, they will always exist. Think about how many times you've changed directions or not done something because of what others might think. How many times has worrying about the worst possible outcome prevented a first step from being taken? We place value on narratives that do not exist. And when you truly think about it, how arbitrary it is to restrain yourself, minimize your own success based on the reactions of people that have zero investment in your outcome. Or how crazy it is to not do what you've always wanted to do because all you can wrap your head around is fear-based narratives. You're letting things that do not exist impact your reality. When you simplify, you see that those ideas are nothing more than distractions. They have no grasp on you, your abilities, or your happiness, and that's what matters. Being fulfilled is a product of doing what you are meant to do, from moving forward, visualizing what can be. Things like criticism, fear of failure, they have no meaning until you give it to them. So do yourself a favor, don't. Rise above all of that and live your life. Tomorrow is a powerful word. It symbolizes hope, promise, good things to come. But it can also be one of life's greatest thieves. See, tomorrow is an IOU. It's a pass, a placeholder we create to postpone wants and needs. The problem is not with tomorrow itself, but the very fact that one tomorrow turns into two, which turns into three, which transforms into immobility and eventually regret. We can't afford to let these tomorrows pass by. Your greatest gift is today. It's now. It's the ability to start building in the present, so that tomorrow is constructed in your vision, so that it becomes real, not a line on a to-do list. Life is too short for that. Your greatest asset will never be what you can do, but what you are doing, what you are creating. So don't worry about tomorrow, because it will come. And if you start now, so will your results. Sometimes we have to hear no 99 times before we can get to our yes. Sometimes we have to repeatedly fall before we can stand our ground. But here's the beauty in all that. It doesn't matter how many times you fall or how many no's you get. It only takes one yes for things to change, to turn around. You only need that one door to open for you. It's very easy to get caught up in the negative, the locked doors, and the rejections, but they are not the problem. They're part of the process. They're what we have to go through to get to our destination. And one of the greatest things you can do for yourself and your goals is to depersonalize these locked doors. They're not the world working against you. They are the world working for you, bringing you one step closer to the path that you need to take. Don't stop at door 1 or 2 or 50. Stop when you've gotten the answer you're seeking. As times change, so do we. Our interests, our day-to-day, often the people we spend our time with, and these changes push us forward. They move us along to greater versions of ourselves. But amidst all this lives something else. Curiosity. An inherent part of who we are that, like so many things, gets left behind. The world around us begs us to think about progress a specific way. It rewards conformity and immediate validation, not the curiosity and exploration that allows you to become who you truly are. See, happiness takes effort. It's derived from asking yourself the tough questions, looking in the mirror and determining what truly makes you feel alive. It's going to places you haven't been and seeing things you haven't seen, leaving the confines of your daily routine and gravitating towards the life you want. It's not being intimidated by who you might be, but seeking it out every day. Because to ignore the things that ignite our interest and truly energize us is to walk away from life's greatest opportunity. When what you want seems like it's a million miles away, understand that what you need is right in front of you. It's a step, it's a nudge, it's a shift in the right direction. It's movement. Regardless of how much or how far, see, when we get stuck, there's a very simple reason for it. We become unable to break big things down into little pieces. It's our inability to see the mountain as a series of small, manageable rocks. Can I climb a mountain? Perhaps. Can I take one step? Absolutely. And when you add those steps up, guess what? You get the summit. Momentum isn't someone coming along and creating your result for you. It is you. It's the way you think. your ability to internalize your journey as a roadmap. Today, right now, the goal shouldn't be the top of the mountain, it should be the step in front of you. Creating energy in some way that will get you moving, taking on these small tasks with consistency. The only way to fail is to stay right where you are, so build your own small wins. Yeah, thinking big is important, but so is knowing that big things are comprised of little things. Not becoming discouraged because you haven't reached the top, but reaching a smaller summit every day. Continuously moving, continuously climbing. Courage. Storming the castle and slaying the dragon. Overcoming all odds, achieving greatness, taking the game-winning shot when you have everything to lose. Courage. Doing that which you are afraid to do. It's engraved in every step you take. Courage is in each little decision, each fork in the road. It's not just an endpoint or a victory or the act of holding up a trophy. It's representative of so much more. Every milestone is comprised of thousands of courageous actions. Deciding to begin again, going where others haven't, having the confidence to stay true to yourself and who you are. Courage has roots, and they're interwoven into the current moment. Like anything, it's built. If your goal is ambitious, it is courageous. And if it's courageous, it begins now. It's life moving around you, waiting for you to see it, to take it head on. Greatness is in every courageous step you take. Not tomorrow, next month, or next year, but the one right in front of you today. Fulfillment doesn't come from the things that you want. Fulfillment comes from what you already have. Taking a step back and acknowledging what makes life so incredible. We're busy people in a fast-paced world. Everyone's moving, going, everyone has a schedule, and that's fine. But it creates an environment where we sometimes overlook the things that mean the most. It's very easy to forget what matters, to push and push and push toward a result, not realizing that what makes you happy is not only already here, but it's being neglected. You don't realize how lucky you are to have people in your life until they're gone. You don't realize how incredible it is to have a home or food or clothes, because we generally don't think about things like that. We don't give that a second thought. And I'm not implying that our other pursuits are unimportant or anything along those lines. What I'm suggesting is that if we don't stop and appreciate all the amazing things in life, we won't have enough. We won't be fulfilled. Happiness starts with being grateful for the things that make life worth living. Sometimes we need answers, guidance. We look to the people around us, we observe, study what's worked in the past. All one has to do is open their eyes to see that solutions are everywhere. When you want something and you're willing to commit to it, you are unstoppable. But along the way, as we seek to take everything around us and transform it into success, it becomes incredibly easy to lose ourselves. To forget about our own unique talents and gifts, what we love, why we started, and what the pursuit means to us. You have something that no one else does, something that can easily be covered up and forgotten if you don't protect it. When you lose who you are, your wings are clipped. Like so many others, you jump into a race with no finish line, running, scratching, clawing for superficial results that mean nothing. You are you for a reason. Your strengths, passions exist for a reason. Don't let them take a back seat to life. Instead, make them the driver. Allow your thoughts, your time, your day to revolve around your true self and what brings you happiness. When you've done that, it won't matter what he's accomplished, what she's done. It won't matter that something is difficult or outside the norm. If it's truly you, it can't be wrong. There are a lot of things we miss, that we walk right by, that if we could just make a point to see them, would add tremendous value to our lives. There's a saying that your problem is your gift. The situations that knock us down or push us back are the same situations that had the potential to move us forward, had we only looked at them a little differently. Sure, no one's positive all the time, but it's not impossible to see the value in every situation, to take what the world throws at you and turn it into your advantage, into positive energy. Life will always be what you make it, and what you make it is entirely up to you. Life's greatest accomplishments weren't always on some pedestal, always admired. They were built on the back of hardship and difficulty. They were carved out of doubt and transformed from negativity. They were turned from a loss to a gain, from the unexpected into an asset. Look, the right perspective has the ability to transform all things. When you are the one who defines your own reality, can you really afford to live your life with your eyes closed? It's been said that nothing is achieved without consistency. Short blasts of intensity are great, but what end up defining us in the long run are the things that we do day in and day out. These things become our habits, routines, and ultimately shape the people we become. A lot of attention is given to the home run, obtaining that monumental result without understanding that the big things are simply comprised of smaller components. Little pieces of paper that stack up every day, bricks that are laid down one by one. You can't see greatness happen because it's not instantaneous. It's not done in a weekend. But it is present, and it's present every single day. A building we walk by is comprised of thousands of individual parts. An all-star that knocks down a three-pointer has taken that shot hundreds of thousands of times. A CEO has studied his or her particular field to an extent most people couldn't even comprehend. People don't see consistency. They see the outcome of that consistency. And while there's nothing technically wrong with that, it's only part of the equation. And that's my message today. These accomplishments, just like any others, they take effort, distributed and routinely implemented every single day. And this consistency is what gets you the larger than life result. It's what constructs your victory. Not once in a while or when it's convenient, but making incremental, manageable progress every day, And these days become the foundation that you stand on. One is not worth more than another. To get the big result, every single small step is imperative. Every move forward is your home run. Time comes and it goes. It's here and then it's gone to be remembered and never seen again. But as it's making its way into the history books, it leaves something behind. The past tense, painting our intentions and unfinished goals as could-haves. We wanted, we hoped, we planned, but didn't. And in the mind, it's as if the opportunity somehow escaped. But that couldn't be further from the truth. There's an old Chinese proverb that states, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Look, you have no control over what's gone. You can't do anything about it, but dreams do not have deadlines. There will always be the present moment. And to hear the phrase, I've always wanted to, but XYZ, or I wish I could, but I'm too old, or I missed my shot, that is fiction. When there's an infinite amount of possibility in front of you, who cares about what slipped by? Learn from it and remake history so that next time you look back, there won't be regret or disappointment. Maybe you've always wanted to start a business, but now you have a job and a family. Well, instead of rationalizing, move toward that dream little by little, one step at a time. You've missed your shot at a promotion, so work harder. Put yourself on a pedestal so high that it will be impossible to get passed up next time. The past is not telling you no. It's giving you insight and momentum for the future. It simply isn't worth cowering to past deadlines when you can be creating new opportunities. When you can write your own story from this moment forward. There's an old saying that the wake does not drive the boat. Where it's been has no impact or effect on where it can go. See, the past is gone, and therefore it has no grip or control over where you go next. That power rests with you and the decisions that you make. Humans tend to live up to the identity that they've created for themselves, but that identity is not yesterday. It's whatever you want it to be in the present. You are not your past. Mistakes and even successes of yesterday don't define you, right? You've taken the experience, you've learned your lesson, now it's time to move on. And it is that simple. Every day is a blank slate for you to rewrite your life as you see fit. Your history is not a ball and chain around your ankle, it's an illusion. And seeing that will open the door to unlimited opportunity. Growth is not only identifying your target, but also removing the noise. Not only highlighting your path, but eliminating the unnecessary twists, turns, and dead ends. Seeing is not just opening your eyes. It's the ability to focus on the top of the mountain. asking yourself what truly matters and stripping your world down to its fundamental components. It's been said that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, and distraction is just as dangerous as indecision, particularly because the former leads to the latter. Progress comes from a clarity that charts your course, having a destination and arming yourself with a map that will take you there. Our biggest obstacles are sometimes the hardest to detect because we haven't even identified them. Those detours that have a permanent residence in our everyday that ultimately don't need to be there. If time is your goal, why aren't you running on the inside lane of the track? If where you want to be is to your left, why are you wasting your time going right, backwards, and forwards? Success should be simplified. Identify the goal, eliminate the rest, and pursue. It becomes incredibly easy to forget the basics, to forget what makes things go and people tick. In fact, it's possible to move so quickly that you forget why you're moving in the first place. So here is a word to keep in your back pocket and utilize in the good times and the bad, when assessing your decisions and the decisions of others. See, this word is the center of our universe. It's what everything else revolves around. Value. What is important? Because that determines the actions that you take. What's important to the people around you, because that determines their objectives. It identifies their viewpoints. Everything that happens to you or around you is a derivative of value. Too often we ask, how can we be provided what we want? When what we should be asking is, what am I bringing to the world? What value am I bringing to him or to her? How am I making things better? Contributing every day to something significant, making myself the best at what I do so that no one can do it like me. No one. Those are the questions that should be asked. And when you're able to hone in on that, go all in and cherish who you are and the value that you bring, that is when the freedom appears, when the money comes, when the opportunities become plentiful. Obtaining value is only possible when you provide it. We wait. We hope. We wish. We imagine. But because what we have is safer than what we don't, we do not act. It's the wall standing before us, stacked 1,000 feet high of what ifs, of worst case scenarios, failed expectations. We look up at what can be while living a life that is simply good enough. We rationalize. If we make a point to stop thinking about all the possibilities, things seem all right. But we know deep down in our souls that there's more. That things are only out of reach because the mind has convinced the body that they're not worth reaching for. And this not only limits, but it denies us the very thing we need most, whether we know it or not, and that's the journey. Something worth fighting for. Something bigger than what we are. It's the missed opportunity that is tragic, never the failed expedition. But we have to be honest. We have to recognize that it's one worth taking, that we're capable of so much more. And to convince ourselves that anything less is acceptable, sufficient, or worthy of our time is wrong. We need that leap of faith. The jump is in our DNA, crafting and defining our potential and transforming the possible into the real. How many revolutionary ideas were never brought into existence? How many dreams were discarded and deemed impossible before they even had a chance? It's a question we'll never know the answer to because there never was a beginning. There never was a start. Anyone can dream, and everyone does. And these dreams, they're the seeds that quite literally change the world. But the hardest part is the decision to begin. To transform something from an idea in your head into a reality that you can live every day. To push fear, uncertainty aside. Maybe you don't even know how to approach your goal, but I'll tell you what. Trying 1,000,000 times and figuring it out on attempt 1,000,001 will always be better than letting that dream die. See, action, movement has a way of sorting things out. There's always a way to succeed, but the wheels need to hit the pavement. It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. It's a vulnerable feeling, putting your time and energy into something you're unsure of. But simply starting allows a spectacular process to take shape. Beginning is only the hardest part because of the mental barriers that attempt to safeguard you from every single thing that can go wrong. But don't think about what can go wrong. Focus on what will go right. All the incredible change that will come your way if you just start. Words like crazy, impossible, and irrational, they all have something very specific in common. They suggest an improbability of outcome. They mock scenarios that don't fit well with the standard idea of the world and how it should work. Because, well, people tend to view life as it is, not as it could be. But if there's one thing you need to remember, it's this. Every single thing in your life was at one point crazy. It was at one point improbable, irrational, or absurd, but this changes. Because at certain points along the way, people were brave enough to look up and acknowledge that reality is forever evolving. A human being in a metal object going 60 miles per hour was crazy. Flying from destination to destination through clouds was crazy. Communicating instantaneously across the world was crazy. If your idea or your dreams aren't crazy, you're simply thinking too small. You need crazy. The world needs crazy. See, change will always be crazy because it requires us to break away from what is. It means you're shaking the world and declaring, yes, this is possible. Yes, this can be real. And the world reacts accordingly. The previous standards raised just a little and you open the door for what's to come. Crazy is what shapes the best part of everyday life. If you're going to run from anything, it should be from the boundaries we unnecessarily create and into the arms of crazy. Sometimes our greatest gains are the result of our greatest losses. The losses that at the time shake up our world. They catch us off guard and even devastate us. It can be incredibly tough in the midst of misfortune to remind ourselves that when one door closes, another opens. That when one journey ends, another begins. But change pushes us. It requires, it mandates that we grow, rise to the events occurring around us. A loss will always remind us of what we once had, how things used to be. But what we sometimes fail to see is the beauty and significance of the chapter. And that without it, the book wouldn't be complete. We needed the lessons learned. Those people in our lives, those moments of joy, sadness, they're what positioned us to move forward. Loss is no tragedy, any more than the sun setting at dusk. It encapsulates everything good in our lives while simultaneously waving us on to tomorrow's sunrise. In today's world, things come quickly. Information is instantaneous, consumer goods are shipped to us at the click of a button. We want now, and we get now. And in many ways, that's great. It's vastly improved our lives, but the danger is when that immediate satisfaction or validation is applied to our own goals. When that thinking translates into impatience with your journey or your progress. Whatever your dream is, whatever you're working toward, it can't be bought with one click on Amazon, right? The good stuff, the important things, they take time. A million little wins, ups, downs, failures, successes, all jumbled into what will eventually be the mountain you stand on. But how you visualize that mountain is crucial. People quit not because something is beyond their capability. They quit because they lose sight of the simple truth that winning takes time, that getting to your finish line requires patience. And if it didn't, I can tell you right now, it would not have the same value. It would not be so highly regarded. The things you want most are earned, and they're earned step by step, day by day. Have the patience to see that through. There's a delicate balance that occurs when moving toward a goal. We need to be thinking about the possibilities, the future, what can be. Goals are impactful because you're creating something meaningful in a place where it doesn't yet exist. But that's also what makes the journey so difficult, because it means there's going to be a substantial stretch of time where you wake up and haven't yet accomplished your primary objective. That's a lot of mornings, working toward a dream, holding on to hope and trust, believing you'll get to the top, knowing that you will conquer whatever is in the future. And while tomorrow may contain the treasure we so desperately seek, let us not forget about the many steps that occurred before today, about the persistence, the courage, the self-belief, you would not be standing where you are right now without the platform that you've built over time. And that's an accomplishment that should never be overlooked. When eyes are only focused on what you've yet to acquire, on what you haven't created, you're minimizing your own momentum. Look, mindset is the beginning and the end of every endeavor. If you feel like a winner, you will win somehow, some way. So just as important as building and working toward the next milestone is recognizing and feeling good about the milestones of yesterday. These small victories have become ingrained into who you are. They have built you up and will continue to push you to greater things. They are your proof, your reassurance that you'll find a way. That is your identity. Accomplishments are a balance of forward progress where you need to go and of earned confidence, comprised of the many steps that got you to where you are now. So don't forget every once in a while to look back. Every morning when you wake up, you are living moments you will never get back. You're breathing air you'll never breathe again. Time is our most precious commodity. And what we do with it is everything. It is your one opportunity to embrace the best gift you will ever receive. And every second sees a little more slip away. We have this mentality that the future is going to somehow mean more than the present. That time tomorrow will mean more than time today. And the best things in life end up being saved for some other time. But the reality is we don't get any younger. Why wouldn't you allocate your time, your effort to the things that make you feel like today is powerful? You are the gatekeeper. You decide whether you want to take this gift and use it wisely or allow it to slip away. Money you can get back. Possessions can be reacquired. But the minutes in your life, well, they're finite. Today shouldn't be looked at as a bridge to tomorrow, but a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You are nothing more and nothing less than what you do with the time you have. And if you know that, if you live like you are on top of the world, it will be more than enough. Control is responsibility. It's being in the driver's seat and knowing that the result you get is directly correlated with you and your decisions. See, it's easy to point the blame. It's easy to be helpless and play the victim, but the empowered embrace a fundamental truth. That when you take control of your life, you own its outcome. Now, this isn't always easy because it means confronting the difficult things in your life. Taking the necessary road, not necessarily the easy one. But when you decide that you are the author, that you hold the pen, you dictate your story. There's no reason to exhaust time and energy on how unfair life can be. Life isn't fair. We all know that, but it's not supposed to be. Winners win because they find ways to take their situation and transform it into a result that they want. Not look at the world around them as an external force pushing them down, but as everything they could ever need to build upon. You have control. Whatever comes your way is working for you. It's allowing you to grow, providing the pieces for you to create your own narrative. The key is not to deflect out, but to reflect in, to take control of your life and get what you want.